Buckle your seatbelt. It's time for another episode of the Prepper Recon Podcast. I've personally been buying gold and silver from JM Bullion for over 2 years. They offer the best prices over spot that I can find, and I've never had a problem with an order. If you're looking to trade in some of your fiat paper for real money, check out jmbullion.com today. Ready Made Resources is a trusted name in the prepper community because they've been around for 18 years. They offer great prices on night vision, water filtration, long-term storage food, solar energy components, and provide free technical service. Get ready for an uncertain future at readymaderesources.com. Hey Preppers and Patriots, this is the second half of my interview with Bob Griswold of Ready Made Resources. Enjoy the show. And I think another one of the things that I really like about Trump is that he's driving the left nuts, particularly the press. The Washington Post published a piece of propaganda a few weeks back, which is something they're really good at. And it was called A Prime to Fight the Government. And it was basically a hit piece to scare people away from anyone who believes in the Constitution. Quoting a liberal researcher from George Washington University, the writer of the article, Kevin Sullivan, wrote, Trump has been a powerful recruiting tool for groups angry at the government. The Tea Party built little bridges between the fringe and the mainstream. He said, with Trump, it's an 18-lane superhighway. He's literally telling them that they're right. So I really like that they hate him so much. I think that's almost reason enough in itself to vote for the man.
Yeah, they say he's got the right, wrong enemies. The wrong, whatever. You know, he's got the right enemies. George Soros hates him. George Soros loves Hillary Clinton. And I say love because of finances. You look who the money goes to. So yes, he's got enemies that would say, that person would be my enemy too. And sometimes it comes down to the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so we have to look at it pragmatically. With so many issues on the line, with the death of a very conservative Supreme Court justice that will be appointed by the next president, it's a split 4-4 right now. One more vote could tilt it away from all individual interpretation of the Constitution. And you think about it, when they make this argument that the Second Amendment is a corporate amendment that incorporates the state, that the state has the right to bear firearms. Well, you think of it. How would that apply if I applied it to the First Amendment? Does that mean you don't have the individual right of freedom of expression, freedom of press, freedom of religion? Does that mean that you individually do not have the right to be searched against your will? Or does that mean the state has the right of free speech? The state has the right of freedom of religion. The state has the right to be secure in their possessions. Well, you don't? No. It's obvious by the interpretation of the document overall, the amendments, that they're individual rights. They're not corporate rights. They're not state rights. And these people that argue that really have to argue with historically just ignorant people. Again, kids go through public school. That's what they're taught. So they come out parroting that, as evident by the fact that you look at all the millennials that follow Bernie Sanders. I mean, the guy has never written a piece of legislation that has passed. He has never held a real job other than what's in government, so he's lived off the government dole all of his life. He's never invented anything. He never did anything noteworthy. He lived on welfare a lot of his life. He took his bride at the height of Soviet communism. He went to to Russia, and celebrated his honeymoon there. I mean, and yet you see just droves of these millennials, eyes bugged out of their head, screaming for Bernie. It's insanity. And you think about it, when you boil down what Bernie wants to do, Mark, let's look at it pragmatically. If the government says, Bob Griswold, you are going to work 50 hours a week or 50 hours a month to put food on Mark's table, isn't that indenturement? Isn't that slavery? And yet that's exactly what Bernie wants to do. He is promising with other people's money. And the only way he can do that is to indenture people to make that money that he gives to other people. So basically what Bernie Sanders and all these other big government people are promoting is my indenturement. We're going to make Griswold and Goodwin a slave, that they have to work so many hours a week to give money so that, they can give it to other people. 16th Amendment prohibits slavery, and yet that's exactly what they're promoting, slavery. So they're indenturing me to work for other people against my will. So again, then we have Trump, again, He's had failed businesses, although he has over 300 successful businesses. He knows how to run a business. He knows how to make a profit. He knows how to make incentive. He knows what incentive is. You take away all incentive from people by taxing them, like to the rate that Bernie wants to or Hillary would do, and all of a sudden the engine turns off, because who wants to work when half your money's stolen from you? Nobody. And Mark, I want to say this. We have a wonderful government in a lot of ways. I still have the right to bear arms. We still have the right to go on this program right now and basically complain about our government. These are rights and liberties that are afforded us. We have the right to peacefully protest. That's what we're doing right now, peacefully protesting. You know, this is a wonderful thing we have, and yet these people on the left are continually pushing to take these things away from us. So while we have the ability to peacefully accept change and bring change about, let us work and exercise to that ability, because when history has shown when peaceful means of making change are no longer available, people do resort to violence. And none of us wants that. Again, the overarching principle for the Christian is that we want to live lives of peace. I want to go home at night, love my wife, love my children, go out and do my little hobbies or whatever I want to do, read, study, garden, whatever I want to do, and not have to worry about excessive government influence and pestering in my life, and that my nation is secure, my borders are secure, that I'm free to seek the principles of, the liberty that God has put in my heart. I think Trump fits more into that category than what Hillary does, by far. I think Hillary's proven herself to be a completely unprincipled woman who will sell out to anybody. The Clinton Foundation has taken tens and tens of millions of dollars from Middle East interest. It seems like, and again, she talks about women's rights, but my gosh, she has brutalized women who've come forward and said anything about her husband raping them. She's brutalized them. And so she appears to be just a very unprincipled, corrupt, deviant person that I would do anything to prevent, any peaceful means of keeping her out of the White House and extending her influence at that level, and then bringing Bill Clinton back into the White House. I mean, my gosh. We never thought he'd be back in, but then he'd be back in as the first or whatever. I guess he can be a trans female to be first lady or whatever anymore. You don't know. But yeah, so that's my call on it. People will disagree with me.
And let's dig a little deeper into what you were talking about with the Supreme Court nominations. We've got Scalia's replacement, so that one's a given. Ginsburg, she looks like she's been on life support for several years now. Thomas is pushing 70. Breyer 78. Kennedy is 80. Assuming they're all immune from cancer and they only ride with safe drivers, we could still be looking at 5 appointments over the next 8 years. And as we've seen with the gay marriage and Obamacare, the Supreme Court has been given power never intended by our forefathers to radically change the shape of America. Where would you expect the new boundaries to be drawn if Hillary gets 8 years of appointing Supreme Court justices?
Boundaries? You used the word that I would not associate with her, boundaries. I would not associate that word with her. So that should answer your question. There's no such thing as boundaries. Boundaries will ingratiate, enrich her, and bring more power to her. So there are no boundaries. There are not. I think it's obvious from looking at the Clintons over the years that the sacredness of life, the sacredness of country, the sacredness of religion, the sacredness of family, the sacredness of friends, it's nothing there. Nothing. They operate and move on political power and money. And so there are no boundaries. None. Now with Trump, on the other hand, he is going to have to make certain concessions to the people that put him in power. And one of the concessions is he's promised to be pro-life. Now, we will hold him to it. He has promised to defend the Second Amendment, and he's been had an endorsement to do so. So, again, versus somebody that has no boundaries and somebody who has maybe been born again with some values, that they understand that this is what I'm going to have to accomplish. I'm going to protect America's borders. I'm going to do these things. I fully expect that he's blunt enough, and he is a very blunt person, he's blunt enough to say that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. And so, again, I know, people might disagree with me on this, but I think versus someone who has demonstrated in every way there is no bottom line, there is no wall that I will not go beyond as far as depravity is concerned. I mean, these people are arguing for men to be able to go in little girls' bathrooms. These people are arguing for men to go into girls' locker rooms and shower with them. I mean, these people are arguing to bring more Muslims in who would rape children. I mean, is that something you'd use the word boundary on? I wouldn't.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Katie Armor offers affordable body armor, including Level 3 trauma plates made of AR-500 steel. These plates can endure multiple rounds from pistols and rifles up to 7.62 NATO. KatieArmor.com. That's C-A-T-I armor.com.
Get prepared before disaster strikes. PrepperRecon.com offers MOLLE-compatible individual first aid kits for your home, auto, or bug-out bag. These kits have everything you need to address a traumatic injury, including an Israeli battle dressing, quick clot, EMT shears, suture kit, steri strips, tourniquet, tough strip bandages, and so much more. Kits are available in OD Green, Coyote, Black, and ACU. $99 includes shipping. Go to PrepperRecon.com and click the Store tab at the top of the home page. Order today before it's too late.
We just passed the 3rd anniversary of the Prepper Recon podcast, and it couldn't have happened without you. To say thanks, I want to send you a free PDF copy of the 7-Step Survival Plan. It's a basic blueprint that will help you to prioritize your efforts and make sure you're not missing any important areas of prepping. To get your free copy, simply go to PrepperRecon.com and click the 7-Step Survival Plan free PDF banner that's directly under the menu bar at the top of the homepage. Thanks again for 3 great years of the Prepper Recon podcast. And when it comes to borders and Islamic terrorism, it seems like the left have all been slipped the same hallucinogenic because they make no sense when they start talking about those subjects. And once again, Trump seems to understand that problem and to be one of the few people who's able to have a coherent conversation about limiting who comes into this country and sealing up our borders to maintain our sovereignty.
Yeah, again, as a Christian, as a constitutional American, we recognize that we want to live at peace. We're not haters. We do not want to hate people to hate them because of whatever color or religion they are, but we do want to use common sense. You don't see people on Donald Trump's team going and beating up Bernie Sanders voters. You don't see that. You see them vocally disagreeing strongly with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, like what we're doing. But in no way do we advocate going to one of their political campaigns and then beating people up or, assaulting people or creating disruption. No, we want the political process. We want that's set forth in our Constitution. And that brings about a peaceful change, government change peacefully. These people are advocating violent change, and it's evident by the amount of violence that follows them wherever they go. So, the term hater that they use so often towards us is the term that they are actually incorporating into their life. They're the real haters. They hate Donald Trump. I mean, they can threaten to kill him, and nobody does anything to him. I mean, Facebook had a Kill Donald Trump page, and one of the major TV hosts, supposed to be conservative, said he could slit his throat or something. But who's advocating the violence? Who is advocating all these things that they're accusing us of? I'm saying we can bring people of all different creeds into our country as long as they pledge loyalty to our Constitution, as long as they pledge loyalty to what is culturally America, historically America. We are a great melting pot in a lot of ways, and that's a good thing because we bring a lot of good ideas in from all over the globe. But we want it done peacefully. We don't want people coming here demanding that we change. And that's the thing I think that Trump is saying, that we're going to apply some common sense rules to immigration. And we're going to look at it hard and long, and then we're going to bring people to America who can benefit America. What a novel idea. Let's bring people to America who can benefit America, and not just anybody who wants to come here and live off the taxpayer's dole.
And then,
whereas Hillary, on the other hand, is...
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I like the fact that Trump seems to have a little bit better grasp of our trade deficits than anybody that's been in the Oval Office recently. Would you agree with that?
Well, I will say this, even as a small business owner myself, I probably have a greater grasp of finances than people that, like Bernie Sanders, who's never had to make a payroll, never had to worry about the federal government taking tax money, that I have to match Social Security, that I have to do all these things for employees, that I have to pay state taxes, collect sales tax. I mean, you have to learn how to juggle all those things as a business owner, and in doing so, you understand that these are the same principles, just on a far grander scale, that run a country. And yet, from Barack Obama, it's obvious that he has zero idea of how to run anything, from the fact that he spent $8 trillion of money we don't have, indebting our grandchildren with it. They just think that money is just something you print. I think Donald Trump has a far more centrist view on where money comes from and what it is, and the fact that he realizes that people do want to keep the money they earn. Nobody wants to pay it out to somebody else or other things. Taxes are a necessary thing for a nation to survive, and I don't think anybody really objects to the government having some revenue coming in to fund things. But on the other hand, just another aspect, I mean, he's promised to go line by line into every one of these programs where they're spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to find out why Republican women are better looking than Democrat women. There was a study that somebody did on that. I would have taken the $50,000 and just said, yeah, okay, I can see that's true. I mean, but to spend that kind of money on ridiculous things, and our budget is just filled with stuff like that, of just pork barrel money being wasted, hand over fist, thrown away. Just, it's insanity. Now, Trump has promised to bring some fiscal responsibility to that type of spending. We can no longer afford it. I mean, folks, we are so far in debt. If we want to preserve our republic in any shape, form, or fashion, we're going to have to get our budget under control, and that means we're going to have to seriously look at how much money we spend. You cannot tax us enough to keep these kind of spending levels up. We're going to have to make some serious adjustments in the money we spend. And again, I think a business owner has a far better chance of doing that than some sycophantic person who's sold out to Middle Eastern interest.
And Trump said that he's going to seek to prosecute Hillary if he's elected. That's almost reason enough to vote for him, don't you think?
Boy, that striped jumpsuit would look good. Yeah, I mean, any of us who had done what she had done, we would be incarcerated for the rest of our lives, and rightfully so. I mean, if I commit high treason against my country, the Constitution allows for the death penalty in those situations. Yes, I mean, this lady needs to be incarcerated. She says they're a criminal enterprise. I mean, I guarantee if you probably polled 90% of FBI agents, they'd probably say, yeah, we'd like to see her in prison. But, because of political whatever shenanigans, whatever goes on in Washington, she has remained immune to it. Bill Clinton, I mean, he's had women come out and accuse him of raping them. If a woman accused us of that when there was evidence to substantiate it, we'd at least be questioned. I mean, there's so many things that you could question this criminal entity on that have brought in both so many moral and legal issues where they have crossed the line. It's staggering to think about them. So, again, I think we need to have that overarching principle that we want to live peaceful lives. We want to live lives that we are free to enjoy the pursuits of happiness, life, liberty, and happiness, and free from excessive government interference. That we're free to criticize our government when we have the need to do so. That we're free to peacefully address the change that needs to happen instead of these people who want to make it illegal. I mean, they really want to make it illegal for us to protest, and there's no greater sign of that than they want to bring the internet under control, the fairness doctrine, where then you can't talk about things. There's so many ways that they reveal their cards that they really do not believe in free speech. They do not believe in individual liberty. They believe in government control of everything, and so I think the choice is pretty clear.
And then the emails, of course, are the big headline on the Hillary scandal at the moment. Which is, most people would say, is a criminal offense very, as you suggested, high treason. But, and while it's not the news cycle anymore, most people think that something criminal happened at Benghazi, and best case scenario, there was some dereliction of duty there that it would at least disqualify somebody from being a presidential nominee.
Yeah, we'll never know the truth of really what happened in Benghazi. But 3 of the warriors that were there went on with Bret Baier. You can watch it on YouTube. And they absolutely came out. The actual warriors who were in Benghazi fighting those people came out and said, we were told to stand down 3 times. Officially told to stand down. Do not go rescue the ambassador. 3 times they were told to stand down. So he said, that's all I can address. But when they say we were never told to stand down, they're lying. That's an eyewitness account. The person who was there, the person whose responsibility was to defend and to protect, was told to stand down.
So I guess it's safe.
Hillary has lied and an ambassador died.
Yeah. But I guess it's safe to say that a person could find themselves being not all that excited about who Trump is, but still being very motivated to vote for him because he could buy us a few more years of the Second Amendment, and he's certainly claiming that he'll do more than Hillary in terms of enforcing our borders. And I'm sure his Supreme Court nominees will be much better than hers.
Yeah, the question I would ask you is, look at the violence that's following the Democratic Party right now. Do you want that kind of violence, or do you want peaceful interchange among people with different political views?
Yeah, well, that stuff looks like a color revolution.
What do we want? Yeah, what do we want? I mean, again, you don't have to be a Christian to want to live at peace, but as a Christian, I do want to live at peace. The Bible commands me, as much as within me, as much as I possess the ability to live at peace with all men, to do so. And that's what I want. But when somebody's coming and you may be egging my wife or threatening or these things that we see going on at these violent revolutions they're having with people who are flying another nation's flag, they're not even citizens of this country. My gosh, it's time to stand up and let's look at it for what it is and say, do we want that? Because if they'll violently protest now, what will they do when they get in office and anybody tries to withstand their guy and say, no, we're not going to do it? I mean, we've seen in the United States Barack Obama has exploited race relations for that purpose. The Black Lives Matter, where did that come from? And we've seen it to be a very violent organization where they advocate the killing of police officers, the advocating killing of people of different ethnic groups, ethnic groups. I mean, just an absolutely, basically criminal organization that's promoting criminal behavior, and all the while, the president's silent on it. He doesn't come out and condemn it. Mm-hmm. He's actually praised some of the people that are in it. So this is the choices we're dealt with. Do you want more of this? And again, we talked about in the last program, violence doesn't stay. It's not a static thing. Violence is dynamic. It requires more and more and more of it. So if we've seen the violence, the race violence and the religious violence under this president, and we tolerate it just like we tolerated Hitler in 1933, when we could have easily defeated Hitler in 1933. We could have taken that, wallpaper hanging, what Patton called him, and dealt with him.
Yeah.
We could have dealt with him very easily.
Yep.
And yet we acquiesced and acquiesced and acquiesced, and 57 million people died because of we acquiesced. We didn't stand up to the wickedness of it. So, I think the choice is pretty clear right now.
Fantastic. Bob, tell us where people can go to find all of your great preparedness products.
Well, they can go, and I always tell people I've had a lifetime of experience living an off-grid life, and I've had a lot of experience in security and security-related issues. I welcome phone calls. If people have questions, I do like to help wherever I can, and don't charge anything for the help at 800-627-3809. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll do my best to give you a good answer. And if you do want to go look at our website, we have about 5,000 products on there at readymaderesources.com. Most everything is free shipping, and we have been in business 20 years now, 1996 to 2016.
Bob, thanks again for making time for us.
Yes, and it's always my pleasure, Mark. God bless.
In 7 Cows, Ugly and Gaunt, Book 1, Behold Darkness and Sorrow, Daniel Walker begins having prophetic dreams about the judgment coming upon America for rejecting God's Word. Through one of his dreams, Daniel learns of an imminent threat of an electromagnetic pulse attack, sending the country into a technological dark age. If they want to live, Daniel and his friends must focus on faith, wits, and preparation to be ready before the lights go out. Buy your copy of 7 Cows, Ugly and Gaunt, Book 1, Behold Darkness and Sorrow, by best-selling author Mark Goodwin, in paperback, Kindle, or audio edition from Amazon.com today.